welcome to L Nuclear. So I want to start this by telling a little story about a visit I made to I would say my favorite high-end stereo store, which is just a great place to go and just look at stuff, listen to things. Really a treat. I don't want to really mention where. I think it's not terribly important, but the idea is that I was able to go into their very high-end room specifically designated for listening, where you sit on a nice luxurious chair. They give you an iPad that's basically dialed in to their extremely beautifully wired, signal chain, and they usually demo a pair of their speakers that they really, really love. So in this case, they were Focal speakers, maybe midway up the chain. I don't remember exactly the model, but they were very, very, high up the chain, probably $40,000 speakers. And they had them set up in between the chair, digital signal going through their system. So everything was great. They had 2 monoblock amplifiers, a subwoofer, and the speakers in front of me in this very nice room. So I went in there with one of the salesmen, and he kind of told me what was going on, and he said, yeah, sit down, listen to whatever you want. He turned on the monoblocks. Actually, the monoblocks were already on. He turned on the subwoofer, but only after we listened to a few songs without it. And then he goes, oh, I forgot. I need to put the subwoofer on. So we had listened to maybe 3 songs. He sat also in front of the speakers. And then after I listened to about 3 tunes, he then went and put on the subwoofer. So when he did this, we sat again and talked about it, and I listened and I listened. We went through maybe 3 other songs. Then he got a phone call and had to leave the room. And I said to him, well, before you leave the room, can I keep listening, but can you turn the subwoofer off? And he goes, sure. So he turned it off, he left. So I was there, closed door, just sitting back, listening to these speakers again without a subwoofer. And the point being is, if a speaker company is going to invest incredible amount of time and research, energy and money into creating a high-end speaker, why would they want you to use a subwoofer with it? The speaker is designed to cover all frequency ranges in an accurate way that presents the music in a way intended that is more natural, more balanced. Obviously, a lot of thought has gone into that speaker. So why would you want to introduce a subwoofer when that speaker is perfectly able to produce bass in deep frequency response that should satisfy anyone who's looking for a clear and accurate and beautifully detailed picture of sound? Point being, I think you just don't want to use a subwoofer with a very high-end speaker. I wouldn't. I'm trying to understand why anyone would. So when I heard the speakers without a subwoofer, they were significantly nicer to me. They just sounded much more beautiful without the subwoofer. The subwoofer just seemed to interfere with the soundstage. It bloated the soundstage. It's like, I don't know. I didn't understand it. So the morals of the story is, with very good speakers, tower speakers, full range speakers, I don't understand why you would need a subwoofer. If any of you disagree with me, I'd love to hear why. But this is a 3-tier discussion. Tier number 1 is this example. Number 2 is like what I've got in my living room right here, the Martin Loken 60 XTI. In this situation, there are 8-inch bass drivers in these speakers that provide very deep and satisfying levels of bass response. To my ears, I would not want to interfere with this speaker. You could add a subwoofer, but why? It's a very good speaker. It's not a high-end speaker that costs $40,000, but this is a very high-value speaker, and I'm getting results that are extremely satisfying. And I wouldn't dream of adding anything to it in terms of a subwoofer. No matter how good the subwoofer, just the idea of adding more bass does not ring a bell. I don't understand what that would accomplish for me. So, with 125 watts of power from my Rotel amplifier, this setup is generating a beautiful bass response, and nothing I would ever change in terms of the bass, influencing the bass frequencies. If anything, the neighbor below, pounding on the floor when I play at moderate volume, tells me there's a lot of bass coming out of these speakers. So, this is the second. What about when you buy a pair of moderately priced or low priced bookshelf speakers? For my bedroom system, I have a pair of 15i Martin Logan speakers, which sound divine. Detail, sound staging, wonderful, very clear. I have them going through an adequate power source, a vintage amplifier that provides about 130 watts per channel. With that amplifier, the pairing happens to be wonderful, as I've talked about in another video. Those speakers sound tremendous. I love them. They're very, very soothing to my ears. Now, in a situation like that, even with very high-end bookshelf speakers, very often professionals that review them will say these will sound better paired with a subwoofer. So how does the argument translate to this situation, which is different? Because obviously bookshelf speakers have smaller bass drivers in most cases, or in some cases, and they have one. It's a different design. It's a different footprint. So with a 15i, which is the only one I can say I've had experience with, well, actually that's not true. I had some extremely inexpensive, just bedroom speakers before I had the Martin Logans that were tiny little speakers, not quite satellite size, but almost. And I used them with a subwoofer. And of course it's going to improve the sound because those speakers weren't really capable of delivering much frequency range. But with a nice bookshelf like the 15i, which is the smallest in the series, but nevertheless a quality speaker, I decided to try this as an experiment. I went and purchased an inexpensive but really nicely reviewed subwoofer, the Kanto Sub 6. It's a closed system, doesn't have a hole in the back. It's a glossy finish. It's a really nice, it's got no logos on it. It's very simple and elegant looking and small. I placed that in the room and spent some time with it after spending, considerable time with the 15i's without a subwoofer. And I was already enjoying it, and I was convinced that I didn't need it. I added the small subwoofer the other day and have been playing music on it to my delight. I am convinced now, I am sold, that with a small bookshelf speaker, at least I can speak for the one I'm using, even a small, inexpensive subwoofer has increased the beauty and the soul of the music coming out of those speakers. It has created just a little bit more depth. It's not over the top, but it definitely enhances the experience significantly. So those speakers have beautiful clarity, and when you add a deeper bass, it brings it all together. So in the case of phase 3 of the discussion, which is a small bookshelf, I do feel that a subwoofer, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on one, just one that does the job. You know, it does a specific job. This one in particular does it well. It's got phase and gain settings on the back, so you can kind of create your own balance as you like it to your ear. But so in all three of these cases, in my opinion, I don't think you need a subwoofer unless you have a bookshelf speaker that you desire, and it's a taste thing, but in most cases I would say a subwoofer is a smart addition. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you have spent $40,000 on a pair of speakers that have been fine-tuned, designed to create a balance of all frequencies, including deep, reaching bass, that speaker is designed to be a standalone representation of sound. So theoretically, it just seems corrupt to me to add a subwoofer of any quality. That is my opinion. And when you get to the mid-level, I still feel the argument holds up. If it's a good speaker, if it's got a very, very high amount of bass frequency, why would you need a subwoofer? A connoisseur of sound maybe would still add one to a tower speaker. I feel with the 60 XDIs, you have very, very generous sized bass cones. So I don't understand why you would need it. That's what I wanted to discuss. The idea that everything is about balance. Think through these decisions. It's interesting just to experiment, and I am finding, to my surprise, that I am highly pleased with adding a subwoofer to a small bookshelf. It did the trick for me, and I resisted. So this is what I wanted to talk about today, and it's the morning time. Wherever you are, I hope you enjoy your experience with music, with life, and whatever stage of the day you're in. Take care.